in the review section. They're just kind of reminding you because later on we're going to do some longer and harder word problems on proportions. But we use a word problem on proportion when we have something called direct variation. We'll talk about that again later. Direct variation means if I increase one thing, the other thing's also going to increase. Or if I decrease one thing, the other thing will also decrease. So the more miles I run, the more time it's going to take me as an example of direct variation. It's going to give you a rate. Bob runs 3 miles in 25 minutes. That's my rate. At the same rate, how many miles would he run in 60 minutes? I want to make sure my miles are on top and my minutes are on the bottom. How many miles in 60 minutes? Now I put the labels there just so you could see how everything has to line up. When we solve a proportion, to remind you, we just cross multiply. I like to start with the x first because I like my x on the left side, but it doesn't matter. 25 times x would be 25x. 3 times 60 would be 180. So 25x equals 180. And then easy enough to solve, I'm just going to divide by my 25. Again, go ahead and grab your calculator to do that, unless you want to do it on your paper. If I divide that out, I get 7.2 miles then. If I can go 3 miles in 25 minutes, I can go 7.2 miles in 60 minutes. More miles took me more minutes, right? Number 8, same kind of thing. Raina drove 300 miles using 14 gallons of gas. So my rate, 300 miles using 14 gallons of gas. By the way, in your rate, if you flip that and put the 14 on top and the 300 on the bottom, it's okay as long as you're consistent when you do the other side of your proportion. At this same rate, how many gallons? So how many gallons would have to go on the bottom since I put my gallons on the bottom? Would she need to drive 375 miles? 375 miles. So again, notice my miles are on top, my gallons are on the bottom. And so now I'm going to cross multiply. 300 times x, 300x, and 14 times 375. 14 times 375, 5,250. So again, in order to solve this for x, I'm just going to go ahead and divide by my 300. Divide by 300, I get 17.5 gallons. So I went more miles, it's going to take me more gallons of gas. Just to kind of look to make sure, does that make sense? Yep, that looks good. Number 9, same kind of thing. Lamar runs, that's supposed to say runs. Let's fix that so it says runs. Must not have been able to type that day. Lamar runs 7 miles in 50 minutes. So, 7 miles in 50 minutes. At the same rate, how many miles would he run in 15 minutes? My miles are on the top. How many miles would he run in 15 minutes? Cross multiplying to solve that. 50 times x would be 50x. 7 times 15. Gonna be lazy. 7 times 15, 105. So 50x equals 105. Again, in order to solve that, we're just going to divide by our coefficient of 50. So 105 divided by 50 gives me 2.1 miles. 2.1. I can go 7 miles in 50 minutes, but I'm only going to go 2.1 miles if I go for 15 minutes, right? With less minutes, that means I go less miles.